course, this was the first sitting senator that came out in favor of Donald Trump's candidacy, and was very loyal, and actually gave up a U.S. Senate seat, to become Attorney General, put his entire life's work, reputation on the line, and once again made a spectacle out of himself, holding up his right hand and taking an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and the Congressional Committee, and you know, this spectacle that he made of himself was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment to our current president, and it seems as though all the current president is attempting to do is to straighten out the Department of Justice. There's been a massive failure in the Department of Justice long before President Trump was inaugurated. A failure. And throughout the 2015 and 2016, the lead up in 2015 and 2016 of the presidential campaign and election, the particular email controversy and possible perjury by Hillary Clinton, candidate for the Democrats, hung over her head, while on the stump, Donald Trump was saying, you know, lock her up, crooked Hillary, still saying that. Okay, well, that's a failure on the part of the Department of Justice, and it culminated really the day that her husband, former President Bill Clinton, met, you know, on the tarmac with the current Attorney General, and seemingly the Attorney General under the Obama administration of the Justice Department went to former FBI Director James Comey and attempted to convince him some kind of way, which is not a whole lot different than our current president sitting down with James Comey, and it's not a whole lot different than Senator Lindsey Graham running to former Director James Comey of the FBI to find out what he had. Not much was said about that, independent of the Senate Intelligence Committee. A lot was said about in the House when one of the members of the committee did some clandestine things at night and whatnot to find out what was there as far as and he went to the White House and reported to our current president Donald Trump. So he's got to straighten out. He's got to straighten out the Department of Justice. And what we have here really is a dysfunctional department from top to bottom. What we have here in the formation of the special counsel Robert Mueller's staff is a quasi Justice Department that's greater than the FBI. Right now, it's greater than the Attorney General. Right now, it's the main job of Robert Mueller is the same as just before 9/11 and just after 9/11, to contain the damage to national security. And Robert Mueller, as former FBI director at that time, is credited with bringing the FBI into the cyber age. And so what we have here is a kind of cybersecurity, national security, cybersecurity quasi-Justice Department that has more resources and is functioning really secretly. It has more resources than the Attorney General and thusly more resources than the president. That's all he's attempting to do, it seems to me, is straighten out the Justice Department. So in concert, our current president has hired his own legal team. He doesn't even need Jeff Sessions anymore. He's recused himself, and that's as good as resigning. He's impotent as far as following the president's orders, because he's a target. He's a target of potential target of Mueller's staff. And all the president is attempting to do is to revisit 2015, 2016, the presidential campaign, and get the Justice Department to move even-handedly in terms of investigating, reopening, or determining what went wrong in the investigation of H. Clinton, when the former FBI director James Comey came out and said, "Oh wow, she really made a lot of mistakes. She did a lot of wrong handling classified information. Maybe some of it was even deleted. Maybe some of it was withheld, and she took over 3 hours to basically tell the truth." Even-handed approach, and our current president has brought up some things that are rumored about something with the Ukraine and their influence, in their battle with President V. Putin of Russia, to try to influence the election for H. Clinton. Okay, and we know that former President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton have a global charity, a global operation, which was also underscored by her service as Secretary of State. And so, once again, this gets into the influence of foreign powers, the influence of the world on the election process in the United States of America. It's always been that way. It's always been that way. In the freedoms of the world, democracy in the world, it's always been that way, that there's been influence, outside influence. Okay, so, there's a redefinition of, well, what is the law? What is the law here? But what we have is a quasi-justice department headed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, allied with the acting Attorney General, certainly allied with former FBI Director James Comey, who was his assistant when Robert Mueller was the FBI Director. And once again, we want to remind you that significant intel that was controlled by Robert Mueller when he took over the FBI was withheld from the 9/11 Commission that may have implicated George W. Bush and the president at that time, and his brother, who was the governor of Florida, in terms of the movement of the pilots through the state of Florida and the airfields that they trained at, their movements through and support groups in Tampa. And this was withheld from the 9/11 Commission, and to this day, former Florida U.S. Senator Bob Graham says it's hard for him to believe they didn't get help domestically. It's hard for him to believe they didn't get help domestically, and there's been investigations connected with the Bin Laden family being flown out when all air travel was banned right after the towers fell in New York City. And however, the president at that time, George W. Bush, arranged for the Saudis, for the Bin Laden family to fly out, things of that nature. So this failure in the Justice Department can be traced all the way back to the Patriot Act and the aftermath of 9/11, when former FBI Director Robert Mueller had to, on the basis of national security, control intel that was going to the 9/11 Commission and also bring the FBI into the cyber world.